Hey Hamza,
Stephen, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me
Good.
on.
Yeah, it's very good to see you. I know we've been talking about this for a while now, so it's great that we've actually got here.
I've been really excited. I've been telling my boys about this on Instagram that Medito, honestly, it changed my life. This is how I was
Jeez.
introduced to meditation. And so it's an honor to be here.
Cool. Yeah, that's really good to hear. I love to hear when people finding Medita useful and yeah, it's making a difference. So yeah, so happy to hear that.
Mm,
Yeah, I thought just to begin with, I thought we could tell people kind of how this happened, like how we ended up speaking to each other. So uh, basically, we started getting a lot of comments on our Play Store and on our Instagram page saying things about Adonis. And we were like, what on earth is Adonis? Like, where is this coming from? And it went on for quite a while, and there were lots of people doing it. And then eventually, I made the connection because I saw one of your videos where you talked about Adonis, and I was like, is this why people are saying this? But I wasn't sure. But yeah, the longer it went on, the clearer it became that it was coming from you. Um, so yeah, maybe you could just tell us a bit more about what Adonis is and why these people are talking about Adonis to us at Medito.
I'm interested right now before I tell you, what is your perception of Adonis?
Okay, yeah. So I would say it's almost like an ideal person, an ideal figure to kind of aspire to. So somebody who's masculine, somebody who is mindful, somebody who's has gratitude and compassion, um, and it's kind of like a modern man in a way because uh, it has the elements of masculinity, but it also has those sides like the mindfulness and gratitude, which you don't often see in like the traditional masculine figure. How do you
Spot
think
on.
that sounds about right?
Yeah, 100% perfect. My idea for creating this character was that I wanted to have a very solid, like perfect role model for young men. And
Mm,
I think it's such a big problem that a lot of young men don't have great role models. We've got like absent father figures. And so the idea behind this character that I've made, Adonis, is like, I use the pictures of like Giga Chad, which is like an internet meme. And then we have
mm,
like me talk about Adonis and Jeffrey at the start of every single video where I talk about this very like polarized different characters where Jeffrey does like all the bad habits and he has the worst mindset, but Adonis does all the good habits. And he's kind of like what we want to strive for. So he's kind
mm.
of like the stereotypical alpha male these days. It's too negative. It's like, yeah, it shows some level of masculinity and strength, but then you also see a lack of humility. You see almost selfishness. This is almost like the ultimate male where he brings the best traits of like the alpha male, but then also where he prioritizes mental health and community.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's amazing. And the fact as well that you're reaching lots of young men with this message is really great because I think mindfulness in general, there's probably a lack of an entry point for young men. Um, I would say like if I look at the stats for our Instagram page, there's probably more like slightly more skewed towards women than men. Um, and I'm not 100% sure why, but probably because of that traditional masculine image, I guess, and mindfulness doesn't traditionally fit in with that. So I think it's amazing that
Mm.
you're kind of bridging the gap, um, and you're obviously doing it really well because you have such a huge following of young guys who are hanging on your every word. um,
Thank you.
so, and how have you done that? How have you built up such a big following?
Give them hope. I think so many young guys have experienced like the dark, like the down days of addiction, video games, porn, drugs, junk food, doing all of the bad habits you can imagine. And they often don't see a route out of this. And so the creators in my space who do show the pathway out of those dark days, usually it's just very one dimensional. It's like, oh yeah, make money and then girls will like you, or build your body and then girls will like, it's just like focusing on one thing. But the truth is that young men, amongst every other kind of person, want like the good life. We don't just want money or girls or the body. We want the ability to feel happy and grateful and present. And no one really taught me this for most of my life up until I just stumbled upon Medito and I started trying meditation. Of course, like I sucked at it at first, but more and more then I started learning about it. I read a few books on it and I realized that this is one of the most important things of life. Like all of your life is really comprised of your ability to interpret your consciousness. And if you're not present through that, which so many young people aren't, men, male and female, just because of like hyperstimulation and social media, like they're just in their mind so much that they can't even be present with their work or their friends, then you're not even living. So I kind of try and show my boys, I think, by first of all leading the example myself, but showing them like the life that they could have if they just commit to self-improvements.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and so many things come out of what you just said in terms of not being mindful, not being in the present moment. Like it leads to anxiety and depression and so many other things. So, and also being stuck in, like you say, if they were just focusing on building up my body so I can, I can get the right girl or something like that, you can get too stuck in like on one thing, which won't necessarily lead to your happiness. So yeah, having like a rounded picture, and focusing on mental health, like it really makes a big difference, isn't it? So you've mentioned like you came up with the idea for Adonis and you kind of developed that story around Adonis and Jeffrey, but like at what point did you realize that it was something that you wanted to do, like to create this? Because I think having a strong story like that is really important in terms of captivating people, in terms of getting your message across. So you've obviously done that really well. How intentional was that? Did you think, right, I need to come up with some structure in order to be able to tell the story, or did it kind of happen naturally and did it kind of just flow out of? Did you just pick up a camera and start talking, or like how did that happen?
All of the credit is due to the first video editor I had, Sam, so in a random video, not even specific to mental health or to these characters, I just said, okay, picture these guys, and I just gave the example of literally just the first name that came out of my mind was Jeffrey, and he does like the bad habit that I was talking about in that video. Then I had to think of like the good, like the best type of person. For some reason, the word Adonis, because it sounded like some like Greek god or something. So I said that, and that's all that I said. That was all my input. But then my video editor, with no instruction from me, found those images. So for Jeffrey, we use like this Wojak meme, and for Adonis, we use GigaChad. So my video editor is very like in the internet space, especially with like memes and everything. So he just kind of put them together. It worked. People like commented saying that they liked it, that it was funny, and then we literally started putting it at the start of every single video since then.
Wow. So yeah, so it was quite organic then, I guess. It kind of just, it wasn't completely planned out. Amazing. And so so I guess you had a video editor, you'd started your channel. Did you have an intention for which, like the direction you're going in, or was that also quite natural?
That's a really good question. So my intention at the start was not about movements or even mental health or any kind of like positive impact. Quite honestly and selfishly, my intention was just to make money online so that I didn't have to work jobs that I didn't like. So I really have been through the rags to riches story. Like I discovered meditation when I was living in like the city, in my student city after I graduated, and I was working like full-time jobs. I was working as a homeless accommodation assistant. So like doing night shifts and very, very bad mental health. And my escape from that life that I didn't like, from like jobs that used to make me cry, was thinking that if I made 500 to 1,000 pounds a month online through something like YouTube, or I was trying like a couple of different businesses, then I would have like such a huge sense of freedom where I didn't need to work. And so that was the original impact. And so if you scroll all the way down my videos, it's like they're just random. One of them's about mental health. The next one's about like curing back pain. I've never had back pain, but I literally just thought I'll make the video. So they're just random videos up until I started speaking about mental health related to like modern day stimulation. And there was like this term that was going viral called dopamine detoxing, which a lot of young people can relate to. It's this idea that we just consume too much like dopamine activities, which is like social media, porn, video games, YouTube. And I could really relate to that. So I spoke about that, mentioned it then that the cure to that was to take a step back from modern technologies and to like live as our ancestors did, go into nature, meditate, journal, read, just sit and contemplate life. And that message really, really, really resonated. Still to this day, a lot of people tell me it's the best advice I've ever gave is just kind of like sit around, don't do anything, don't stimulate yourself, just look at your wall and just like see what happens to your brain.
Yeah, totally. I just got back from Peru last week, and I did like a bit of a detox, just in the jungle, no phone, no signal, no salt, no sugar, just plain food. And yeah, it was amazing. And like that connection with nature, swimming in the lake in the jungle, with no distractions. Yeah, no
That's
spicy
sick.
food, no flavorful food even. And yeah, so I totally understand that. And I would recommend that anybody, you obviously don't have to go to the jungle to do it, but yeah, just like
That's awesome.
put your phone on airplane mode, right? Every now
Did
and
you
then.
get any like psychological insights from that?
I did get some insights, yeah. Yeah, quite a few insights. I don't know whether to go into them right now. I think one of I can talk about one which because I think is quite relevant actually to the topic we're talking about in terms of masculinity and things. Quite a prominent insight that came to me was around, I was calling it mother energy and father energy. I was kind of thinking that everybody or everything even has like a mother or a father energy, or you could say masculine or feminine energy. Not necessarily limited to, women have the female energy or the mother energy, but it could be a mix. Like everybody has a mixture of both to some extent. And the mother energy generally is loving and warm and caring, and all they want is for their children to be safe. And the father energy is very much rooted in the real world, and it's tough, and it can be hard, and it tells the truth. And the purpose of that is to prepare the child for the real world, and prepare it for the hardships that might be to come. And sometimes that might be perceived as less loving than the mother energy, but it's rooted in love. And both of these come with their own problems. Like the mother energy comes with anxiety. It's like inherent, because all they want is for their child to be safe, and anxiety comes with that. And with the father energy, what comes with that being rooted in the real world is a lack of hope and a lack of faith at times, not all of the time, but it can lead to lack of faith and lack of hope. But the solution to both of those problems, so the mother and the father energy, is love.
That's a really, really good understanding.
Yeah, and I think it seems to apply for most situations, I think. Like, and as I said, there's a mix. We all have a mixture of mother and father energy within us. Sometimes a father might have, in a family situation, sometimes a father might have all of the mother energy, and the mother might have all of the father energy. But another thing that came to me as well, that was those energies can go almost too far in one direction. So you can have a mother who has gone extremely far down the mother energy path, and her anxiety is extremely high, and she becomes an overbearing mother. And I guess we've probably all known that kind of person from at some point in our lives. And the father energy, if that goes too far, then it could be abusive, because it goes beyond just preparing the child for the outside world and the hardship, and it becomes too tough and too hard, and it can lead to an abusive father relationship. So yeah, that was just I probably rambled a bit too much there. But yeah, so
really
coming back to Adonis. So Adonis is very much based around masculinity. So if there is this idea of there being a balance between mother and father energy, like how much of the mother energy is in Adonis? Like, is there like a feminine side to Adonis?
I haven't really considered that. So the examples I've gave is that he is masculine. He's goal striving, focused on purpose and mission. So when you said, okay, one of the problems can be that you can go in either side too much. The cure to that is polarization with your partner. So as long as you and your partner hit both the masculine and the feminine, it doesn't really matter who brings which side, but as long as you bring the polarization together and you meet in the middle, then that is generally a successful relationship in terms of the masculine feminine energies. Usually in terms of these energies, when there's an imbalance, when, for example, both people have become more masculine or both people have become more feminine, that's when a lot of, like, especially the sexual polarization dies down inside of the relationship. The book The Way of the Superior Man by David Dieter is an awesome explanation of this, where he says that when a couple is depolarized, and especially when the man has lost a lot of his masculinity, you'll never see that couple passionately arguing and then suddenly make love. And it really clicked. And then he said, if you do see one which is like a very masculine man, very masculine, a very feminine woman, then they're the ones who you see who would actually fight a lot. But that fight is also kind of like what you said. It's like a display of the love, because they have to clash, they have to butt heads because they're so different from each other. But it is our differences that cause that attraction. So with Adonis, what I've tried to do is I still want him to have like some of the most, in my opinion, like the most important feminine traits that help men. So those are the things like still valuing love, still valuing relationships and social connection and brotherhood and deep conversation, because we know that those are so nourishing for us. And so many men just overlook that because it's like, gossiping is for women. But that's like, if there's anything, I believe all the studies that I've seen is like the number one thing that really makes us happy is social connection. And what activity inside of social connection you'd assume would just be like deep conversations and maybe some kind of activity together. So Adonis has maybe 80% masculine, maybe 20% feminine. And recently I've been bringing in like this new character, Anastasia, which is kind of like his woman. And so when I do maybe expand on her, she would have the opposite of that.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, that totally makes sense. So yeah, and how about compassion? Like, is Adonis a compassionate being?
Yeah.
He's
got to be. He's the tribe leader.
Okay, nice. Yeah. Because one thing, I've just been writing a compassion assignment. I'm doing a course in mindfulness studies, and the topic that I've just been doing is compassion. So it's like top of mind at the moment. And I've just been kind of realizing that compassion practice is just as important as a mindfulness practice. And we do have compassion meditations and courses on Medito, but we're thinking about ways that we can kind of increase that even more and kind of bring mindfulness and compassion almost onto an even level, rather than being overly focused on mindfulness. Because
what is the practice for compassion?
So there's a bunch of different things you can do. There's loving kindness practice where you can you basically send well wishes to. You start with yourself. Like, self-compassion is always the place to start, because you kind of have to show compassion to yourself before you're able to show compassion to others. So you start with yourself, then you move on to people who are close to you, because that's generally quite easy to do, especially if you choose maybe like a pet or something, somebody who there's no complicated relationship. There's definitely aren't any negative feelings. It's really easy to show love to your dog or your cat, but once you have that flow of compassion going towards somebody who is really easy for you to show compassion to, then it can be easier then to like transfer that flow of compassion over to somebody else. And you can start with people close to you, which is generally fairly easy, but then you extend it to people who, at first, people who you just don't really know that well, but then you take it even further and you extend it to people that maybe you don't even like, or you even hate, if there's anybody that you hate. And in Buddhism, there's a term called bodhicitta, which is the sadness in the heart that is awakened through compassion. And it's basically when you start practicing, and I've experienced this as well, when you start practicing compassion, you experience this sadness because you realize there are so many people or living things in the world that are suffering, and when you start compassionate practice, you want, and compassion is different from just love. Like before, I used to think of love and compassion as the same thing, but love is generally, it's a loving feeling that you can have for everybody and everything. Compassion takes action. So compassion, in compassion, there's an element of wanting to alleviate others of their suffering and taking action to try to do that. So when you practice compassion, and it awakens the sadness in your heart because you realize that there's just so much suffering, and all you want to do is just to stop that suffering and help other people to reach bliss as well. Then you just feel that sadness, and it's like tragic and it's raw, and it can be hard as well, and it can be like, so I was practicing. It was actually another type of compassion practice. Is a safe place practice, and it's intended for self-compassion. So it's like a visualization where you imagine yourself in a completely safe place, and you kind of notice the feelings of warmth that can come with that. But when I was doing that, I realized that I didn't have to imagine that I was in a safe place. Like I was in a safe place. I was so, like, it was a beautiful day. I could hear the birds singing. I was sat in a bright, warm room with nothing to do except to think about compassion. And I just thought, how incredibly lucky am I? And I just felt overjoyed. But then that quickly turned to sadness, and that was the bodhicitta, the sadness in the heart that was awakened through compassion. And I was just sad because I was like, this was a few weeks ago. Like Ukraine was very, very much top of mind for a lot of people, and I was thinking, I'm really lucky to be in a completely safe place, but there are many people in the world, many living things, like many people, many animals who are terrified and in pain, who are going through extreme suffering. And it just left me with a lingering sense of sadness. So after the session finished, like, I started on this high of, oh my God, I feel so lucky and happy, but the lingering feeling afterwards was of sadness. But that's what happens when you practice compassion. Like it awakens this sadness. But then following that, so that it's kind of like you practice mindfulness, then you practice compassion, and it starts to waken you up, and then insights come to you. And I feel like that's, it's been talked about in the Eastern traditions for thousands of years, and it's something that we can all do, and that it's part of waking up.
That's a beautiful practice. Who are you compassionate for today?
Who am I compassionate for today? Well, I just got back from. I went to visit family yesterday. Like, it's a long time since I've seen like a bunch of my family because I've been away, and it was just like generally nice to just see everyone, and so I'm feeling grateful for my family, compassionate towards my family. How about you? I saw your video yesterday about parents, which I just loved that video. I thought it was amazing.
Thank
and you talked about your, like, the development of the relationship with your parents that wasn't so great before. And I thought that was a beautiful story, and talking about how we can help our parents by passing on the things that we learn through things like mindfulness and gratitude practice. So how, like, I'm guessing your relationship with your parents is quite good now.
Yeah, it is. I really have you guys to thank for that, because the start of the improvement for our relationship was my mental health practice, and that's when I started taking a step back from like all the bad habits, and especially gratitude was a big one for me. When I moved back home, I was taking some random course on a website, and it said to write someone a gratitude letter, and it felt, it was so cringe, it was so uncomfortable. But I wrote one for my father, and then the next lesson of the course I'd like read it to them. So I didn't want to waste time. I took action straight away, brought my dad in here, just read him the letter. It was just cringe, but like we both teared up a little bit, hugged him, and that moment honestly transformed like our entire family's life, because I'd never really taken even a second to think what I was grateful for. Like I was so filled with like hate and resentment for all of my life, for like how they treated me when, they disciplined me and everything. And just this random practice of just thinking, okay, but what could I be grateful for? Well, they've dedicated their lives to me. Like they left their families so that we could live in the UK, and like they don't really like it here that much. Like all of their family, all their friends, everything they had was in Pakistan. My dad had like a fantastic job. He had hundreds of people working for him. And one of the text messages he sent me once was that he gave all that up to work like a laborer here in the UK just so we could go through a British university. And I never even, like, for all my life, I never considered that they actually like did good things for us, because I was just blinded by hate and resentment. And that the practice of gratitude and improving my mental health really gave me that clarity to think like they love me so much and I love them, and I've just, I need to take steps to actually improve that relationship. But in terms of who I'm compassionate for today, it's my mother. I was walking back from the gym and I was listening to like a podcast about like health, and the podcast guest talked about some like illnesses and sicknesses that happen to people as they get older, like dementia. Like I don't really understand a bunch of how they happen or anything, but I assume it just kind of like from bad habits, not exercising and everything. And as soon as he mentioned something like dementia, and he said like 50% of people over age 60 get it, I felt like so sad and so like almost guilty for my mother, thinking like, here I am, like I'm so into fitness, I'm so into health and everything, and I haven't really taught her that much. And like she could use the help. Like, do you know what I mean? She's kind of like struggles to exercise or to eat clean and stuff. And like, here I am, I speak on YouTube that, I'm the master. I know so much about fitness and I've got the body and everything. Well, why don't I teach my family that? So I feel like a huge sense of compassion towards my mother right now.
Yeah. I think that's really good advice. I think we can all follow that lead and try to help our parents, and it's a good place to start. They've helped us a lot. I was out here to try to help them.
I love that.
And so what do they think of like what you've built? Are they proud?
Yeah, nothing but supportive, even from the start. One of the things I've been saying is like, I've had a very easy journey with YouTube, like from the start. As soon as I moved back home from that student city, and I kind of just told everyone that I was on YouTube. I was almost expecting them maybe criticize it and, tell me to focus on something else. But straight away, they were supportive. My dad sent my channel to like everyone in the village. So imagine having like almost no subscribers straight away. And I had like 80 overnight. And like, they kept on trickling in as well. Then I started getting comments from people who's like, oh, like, hey, bro, I shouldn't have done the accent, but like, hey, bro, I'm from your dad's farm. And, so I've got supporters and my dad's like proper encouraging me. That's when I made like the back pain video, because he was like, oh, yeah, like lots of people have back pain, so make a back pain video. But like, there was nothing but supportive. And now there's so much like mutual respect. Like there's so much, there was always love, but now I'm really feeling like the respect of them, my sister, my brother, because now they see that I'm not that same kid that they knew a few years ago who was just spending all day in his room just playing video games and lying around on social media and stuff. They see that I'm making a big impact here. Seemingly hundreds of thousands of guys' lives have changed because of the work we're doing here, myself and my team. They see that I've employed 11 people now, it's soon to be like 13. That, yeah, honestly, it blows my mind, and it seems to really impress them as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. 11 people, 13 people. What do they all do?
So right now I have 5 video editors, and I have a personal assistant, email copywriter, and just later today, we're going to get 2 more video editors. And then I also have a Instagram video editor. Then I also have a thumbnail creator for the videos. It's very interesting. The Instagram editor, they just kind of like edit, like Instagram reels for my Instagram page. And then the thumbnail maker for the YouTube videos, they are 17 and 15 years old. And they make more money working for me than all of my friends.
Wow.
Like all my friends are professionals. They've all went to uni, like master's degree and everything. And these kids, just by like making videos and like little cartoon pictures, make more money than they do.
That's amazing. It's so cool that you can, like, you've built something and you're giving people jobs and security, and That's amazing.
Thank you. I think that's the best part of all this. I think a lot of people, like, you kind of get desensitized to the comments after a while. You know, the first few comments I said, like, "Oh, Hamza, your video is really good. You've changed my life. That was amazing." Now it's just kind of like, I wish, you know, I felt more to it, but it's just, it does nothing to me reading a comment like that, because there's been so many of them. And I really hope that I don't sound arrogant there, but like, when you see the effect in front of someone, and, you know, someone's just messaged me, like one of my video editors, he's from Georgia, and his mother moved, I believe, to Italy to work, to make money, and she was expected to come back like 1 or 2 years from now, to, you know, when she was going to save up money. This video editor makes so much money that he's just like paying for her to come back, and like she doesn't need to be there anymore. Another one, the first guy, Sam, he was on the same kind of benefits that I was at the same time. So we were both on, in the UK, it's called universal credit. It's kind of like government welfare. We were both on the same one. And now he makes like a very, very respectable amount per month just editing videos. And he says like it's the best job you could dream of. Another one used to work in Uber Eats and like Deliveroo in America. Now he does this full time. Another one was working in a grocery store, and he quit on the day that I paid him €1,000 for this one particular video, and he like screenshot it, sent it to his father, showed me it and everything. I feel like I'm really like, that's the thing I'm most proud of, is my team, because I really feel like their lives have like significantly changed because of this.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Incredible.
Thank you.
And so you said, I think you just mentioned just now that it's been quite easy building a YouTube channel. Have you had any challenges? Surely there must have been some.
I was speaking about this to a YouTuber just 2 days ago, where we were talking about burnout and a bunch of the challenges that can come with YouTube. And every time he was telling me like, oh, you know, he's experienced this and this and this, I kept on saying like, bro, like I can empathize with that. You know, I kind of feel bad for you, and, you know, let's talk about it. But like, I can't relate at all, because my journey to YouTube it's just been a consistent growth up. Usually creator burnout and like mental health of the creator comes from two things. It's overworking / under resting, under recovering, and then also lacking results. So the YouTube analytics is very, very ruthless. So on YouTube, you see all the data so clearly. Like if you posted bad videos, it's in your face that you're a loser. And so I've always felt a little bit immune to these both things, because one of the things that I've never given up, like the priority above my work, is my mental, like my health in general. So I eat clean. I like sleep is like fantastic for me. Like my habits, at least. Sometimes obviously I get a bad night of sleep, I wake up or something, but like my habits of like going to bed at like 9 a.m. or waking up, going to bed at 9 p.m., waking up early and everything, no phones and screens before bedtime, eating clean, meditating, gratitude journaling, being around family, relationships, love. I've always kept that up through all of this journey so far. Whereas I speak to a fair amount of creators who kind of say like the time that they hit burnout was because for 2, 3, 4 weeks, they were focused on a project. They didn't leave their room. They didn't speak to anyone. They didn't get any sunlight. They were, you know, small weird things like they didn't get sunlight. They didn't even drink enough water, nutrition, and sleep. They really, really negatively impact you, and it can be so overlooked. But I always kept up all of the practices that I started with. And like meditation was a big one of that. So honestly, it's like I've not had any huge problems. Of course, we've had obstacles, but then myself and my team overcame every single one so far.
Yeah, and that makes sense, because like the stuff that you're teaching, like you're clearly living that. So, and if you're living the things that you're teaching, then yeah, you shouldn't have too many problems. And when you're practicing gratitude, like even if problems do come up, you're focusing on the positive things. You're thankful for the things that have gone right. So then those negative things or those problems that come up, they're just not so big, because they're just things that happen. Like things will always come up. Like problems are inevitable. So yeah, as long as you're living in a good way, then you can deal with it.
Well, every problem is a learning lesson when you have the right mindset.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I now think actually like everything is a lesson. Like whatever we're going through right now, like this conversation is a lesson. Like everything is a lesson, you know, and we can learn from whatever's happening in our life, I think. Yeah, that's one of the things that I've kind of really landed upon recently. Like everything is a lesson.
I really like that.
Yeah. So I think so you've got this huge following. Where is it? Like 450,000 followers or something now, isn't it?
Yeah, about that.
And it is lots of young people, like young men, and they're looking to you for inspiration and advice and guidance, and they're holding you up there as like a role model. So that comes with a lot of responsibility, doesn't it? Like, how does that make you feel? Does that ever get to you, or do you ever think, "Am I doing the right thing?" You like, do you start questioning yourself, or like making
all
sure
the
you want
time.
to go in the right direction?
I love
Yeah.
it. I just recorded a video today, which is going to be titled "Everyone's Watching Me," and I love it. Where I talk about, it's kind of like I have 400,000 accountability partners, which is, it's unheard of. You know, you have one accountability partner, someone who's like messaging you to make sure that you get to sleep on the right time, you do the good habits. That's kind of valuable. I'm in the spotlight, and I'm a very, very, very like unfiltered, open person, and like authenticity is like the number one thing I've been rated every time I do like some kind of poll. And a bunch of people, I ask them like, why do you watch my videos? What's special about me? And they always say authenticity. In every single video, most videos, I start the video by talking about my mistakes. So after the intro, I always tell like a story of my own life about the video topic where I messed up. And I do that repetitively with every single one. And so even a month ago, there's times where I record a video where I'll specifically say like, oh yeah, this is the advice that I gave to you, but I messed up. And so this is my learning lessons to it. And the amount of growth that I've been through because of this, because there's hundreds of thousands of people watching my every step, is phenomenal. I think that level of pressure may be too much for certain people, but for me, it's always been like a more is better. The more eyes on me, I like it. Maybe it's ego, something like that. But I personally like the attention. And I like that everyone's like watching me. Everyone's calling me out. If I post like a small video of me like eating ice cream, I'll get 100, 200, 500 messages of people like swearing at me, like you're telling me like, Hamza, you told us not to eat ice cream. Like, so obviously that keeps me in check. Because one of the things that I really disagree with in this like sort of modern narrative about like self-improvement and becoming successful is this idea of like, you know, do it for yourself. Like don't go to the gym to impress anyone else. Don't do anything, because that sounds like awesome advice. I don't know if I'm just different, but like we're supposed to do things for other people. Like we're supposed to want to be socially included. And so this idea of like, oh no, don't go to the gym to like attract women, do it for yourself. But it's like attracting like your partner is like one of the most important things of life. And like, of course, you want to be more attractive. You want to feel more confident with the body that you've built. And the same with having this level of accountability. I love that people watch me.
Good. Yeah, like, and I think, like you say, there is an element of ego. Like we all have egos. Like we can't pretend that our egos don't exist. And like there's an idea of getting to a place of like less ego through meditation and mindfulness, but we never want to completely get rid of our egos, because our egos are very useful tools. And we need our egos to navigate the world that we live in. So I think it's completely fine to acknowledge that we have egos, and that with certain things that we do will be acts of ego. It's just important to not get too caught up in our egos, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. I'd say the overwhelming majority of people could use reading books like Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. I was just reading that as well. Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday, reading the like great works like that, and then just contemplating and really questioning, asking themselves why, like 5 times anytime they want something, anytime they're about to do something. For most, I mean, maybe not most people, but at least my perception of like myself and like the people I come across, like you could do with at least understanding more about your ego. But you're absolutely right in what you say. You wouldn't want to have no ego, at least up until you're kind of done with life. So this idea, Eckhart Tolle, this idea of like achieving that stage of enlightenment is so attractive. But I say this to my video editor, that if I do experience ego death through like meditation or psychedelics, like everything would probably stop. Like I'd probably stop going to the gym. I'd probably stop making the videos. I'd probably stop doing like 90% of the things I'm doing, because ego fuels it. So, you know, it sounds awesome for me to say like, oh yeah, I make these videos to help people, but like 100% ego's got to be involved. Ego in the sense of I want status. I want to feel like up the social hierarchy. I want money. I want fame. Like, of course I do. And so if my ego was removed from all that and I still wanted to like help people, maybe I'd be doing it in a very less significant impacting way than I would be right now, and like less people would actually see the message. And so I don't want to completely lose my ego just yet. I think it's very important to keep it in check and really be aware of it. And that's why that book is so good, especially like when I find that I've got like a major phase in life, like right now we've achieved a really good level of success, I go back to that same book by Ryan Holiday, The Ego is the Enemy. And he's got like chapters on like when you're reaching for a goal, when you have success, and when you have failure. And so I go through those sections very, very routinely every couple of months to just keep myself in check, because it's so important. But at the same time, if I had no ego, like I wouldn't be on this call. I wouldn't be doing 90% of. I'd go, if I had no ego, I'd probably go back to playing video games and doing all the bad habits again.
Yeah. And like you say, like your ego is helping to sell the message, like you're part of the reason that people like watching your videos. Like you say, there's a level of authenticity there, and that's because your personality is shining through, and like your personality is basically your ego, so but yeah, it's very still really interesting to think about how that all works. And like you, and when you said about enlightenment, as talked about by Eckhart Tolle, when he, like, if you achieve that enlightenment and you lose your ego, then you might just not want to come back again. But have you heard of the of Bodhisattva?
No.
But a Bodhisattva is an idea from Buddhism, where once you have achieved enlightenment, if you then decide that, because once you achieve enlightenment, you can just live in bliss. You can just, like, there's nothing you need to do, because you've realized the oneness with the rest of reality, and you can just sit in bliss. You can sit and meditate, and you'll be in bliss for the rest of eternity. But bodhisattvas are ones who have achieved that blissful state, and then they decide they're not going to stay there, because what they want to do is to help other people, and they dedicate their lives to compassion. So that's where bodhisattvas come in, which I really like that idea.
So that's what Eckhart Tolle has right now, do you think?
Yeah, possibly.
Seemingly,
Yeah. I guess like teachers, people who, like, some people are just clearly awakened, right? And then they don't have to teach people about it. The reason they're teaching people about how to reach that enlightened state is to help them also get to that blissful place. So yeah, I would say so. Like, bodhisattvas become teachers.
Would you lose your ego if you could?
Yeah, like I think, like you say, like, not permanently. I think it's nice to experience that and get to that blissful state. But I kind of had that experience recently where I felt like I was contemplating death. I was thinking about, like, what it'd be like to die, and trying to accept my own death, because it's going to happen at some point. And it's quite a morbid topic, but I think people don't talk about death enough, actually. And I was ready to accept my own death from a perspective of like an observer. So I was just kind of watching my response to the idea of death, and in the end, I kind of realized that even though I was like logically fully accepting of dying, like, I felt like my body and my mind were still resisting it. But I think the reason is because I felt like I still had work to do. I still had stuff that I wanted to achieve, and generally, like, with Medito, like, I've still got work to do at Medito. I want to build that app even more. I want to help it to reach even more people. So I'm not quite ready to clock off yet.
That's a really, really powerful practice to get into. So it's there's a Stoic practice called, I think it's Memento Mori, so meditating on death. And I've only done it a few times, but I think being introspective, and again, honestly, my best piece of advice is just turn everything off and just stare at your wall for some time and just ask yourself like these deep, meaningful questions. And one of them should be something like, what is the purpose of my life here? What if I died? What if my parents died? Because especially that one, this idea, okay, wake up and literally meditate on your parents' death. Well, what are you going to do after that? You're going to walk into their room and hug them and like tell them that you love them. Even, that visualization for me feels a bit like cringe, and it shouldn't be, but it's like, if you haven't like been so like touchy-feely and lovey with your parents, that you do have a level of resistance. But when you do something so abnormal to meditate on your parents' death, suddenly like things get into perspective, and you think, wait, hang on, like, it doesn't matter if it's cringy, like this, this might be it could rationally be the last time that I ever get to hug her. And doing the same thing for your own death as well really makes you question, okay, well, am I doing the right things here? If I died right now, would I be proud of the last few years of my work?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And yeah,
How would you answer that question?
I think I'm happy with the way things are going at the moment. Yeah, I'm proud of what I've been working on. But there's more, like there's a lot of stuff that I work on that I'm not, that I'm like Medito isn't my full-time job. We're all volunteers at Medito, you know, we're all working on other things, and then Medito is our side project. So yeah, I feel like I can move even more in the direction of working on the stuff that I care about, just making it happen, you know, and being focused on being focused on the things that I really care about, you know. So there's more to be done. Yeah, it's just thinking about ways to make it happen. Yeah.
What are the things that you care about?
So, like I've realized recently, I feel like I want to be, or in a way, I am like a teacher. Like I want to be a mindfulness and maybe even a yoga teacher. I'm not like a qualified yoga teacher, but I recently led like a yoga session, and I really enjoyed it. So I want to do more of that, and maybe become a qualified yoga teacher. So if I could, you know, dedicate my life to teaching people about mindfulness and yoga, that would be amazing. And I'd feel like I was doing something worthwhile, helping people to become happier. That's what I would love to do, to dedicate my life to. And at the moment, it's just one part of my life. It would be great if it could become, you know, the whole of my life. How about you? Do you feel like you're on the right path in terms of what you're doing at the moment?
Yeah, 100%. When I just ask myself that question right now, like if I died, would I be proud? Would I be content and grateful for the actions that I've taken? And yeah, 100%. Of course, I'm ambitious and there's more to do, and you know, there's other things I want to achieve. But when I think about where I've come from, when you know, literally not even 2 years, about one year, 10, 11 months ago, I was just not living a good life whatsoever. I was entirely selfish, just self-focused, not doing anything productive. And to think how much I've accomplished in less than 2 years, it blows my mind. So I'm incredibly happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah, and one thing that you mentioned earlier, which I thought was quite interesting, was when you said about like doing the stuff with YouTube means that you're not working, but in a way, like you are working, like you're doing really important work, which is like building your community in your channel and teaching very very valuable things. But the fact that you can think of it as not work, that is amazing, because like it is work, but it's when your life can become your work, and you don't think of it like, we often think of work as something that people tell us to do, and it's something that we don't want to do. But it's not necessarily like the work that you're doing is work. It's important work. But you've definitely, you're clearly on the right path, because when you don't even think of your work as work, but it's paying your bills, and you're doing something important and you're enjoying it, like you're clearly on the right path.
Thank you. I just told a joke to Sam, the video editor, I think it was yesterday. Say we were talking about like 9-to-5 jobs, and we make jokes like, "Oh, bro, we should just get a 9-to-5 job, bro. This is too hard." And I told him we left the 9-to-5 and now we work till 10. But you're right, mate. It's that cliche quote, which is like, if you love what you do, then you don't work a day in your life. Like this is my new definition of work, because this is the work that I know now. But compared to work that I have had previously, this is incredibly different. This is like, I want to think about this stuff. I want to do it more often. I literally read books on goals and time management and stuff, because I want more time for this, because this is like, it's fun for me. It's just kind of like how going to the gym is for me. After, you know, for a lot of people, when they first start off going to the gym, it's work, it's hard, it's uncomfortable. They're doing it for the end result. But when you do eventually get into the flow of things, and maybe if you're naturally built in a certain way, and you find something like, for example, the gym, and it becomes intrinsically motivated, that's like that's the fun of the day. That's me playing. I'm in the gym and I'm literally playing with the weights. I'm here right now. This is play for me. This is my like fun for the day. I've abandoned all of like the fun habits that I used to do, which is like video games and Netflix and all that stuff, because I don't need to. Like, I get more enjoyment from a conversation like this. I get more enjoyment just recording videos or just speaking to my team, and it's a beautiful experience. Honestly, it's such a privilege. But I love that it's becoming just more and more common, and it's so accessible to people these days to just create a business like this, which is more of like a lifestyle business, and it doesn't feel like work. You're doing something you're passionate about, and you have the possibility to do some like really meaningful, fulfilling tasks.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I'm hoping to get there. I'm working my way towards it, I think. Yeah.
Does this work fulfill you when you work for Medito?
Yeah, 100%. Like me and the others, yeah, like we have a big team of us now working on it, and we're all doing it in our spare time. So yeah, and we're doing it because we care about it, and yeah, it makes a big difference, doesn't it, when it's something that you really care about.
I think you guys might be experiencing something similar to what I said before, where like the positive comments kind of, they're so nice, and you want to see like positive. I'm sure you guys see on like your Instagram and everything, but it kind of like loses the glimmer, the love, the significance after a while, up until you really like see someone face to face. And Stephen, like, you've changed my life with this work that you've done. You and the team, genuinely, like, I'm only here today because of the mental health practices that I implemented straight away. And Medito was that app, and it still is literally the only app that I use for meditation. You guys genuinely changed my life, and with that, you've indirectly changed the lives of hundreds of thousands of young men. We look up to you guys.
That's amazing. That's so good to hear. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cool. Just one last, because I know we were coming up to an hour already. I can't believe it. It's gone really quickly. So one thing that I feel like I'm missing a bit in my life at the moment is the gym. I used to go to the gym quite a lot.
What made you stop?
Just, I know it's a really poor excuse, but I was just so busy. They're just constantly doing work, and then like, my work as in my salary job, and then Medito, and then just so much stuff going on, and the gym just kind of took a bit of a back seat. And it's been months now since I've been, but I was thinking about getting a personal trainer. What do you think about personal trainers? Should I get a personal trainer?
100%. That's such a good investment. It's just, you have a professional in front of you who's giving you immediate feedback. I feel like there's a certain book which really talks about like immediate feedback being one of the most important things to really get into something. And that's incredibly valuable. It blows my mind that people think like, oh, they're too expensive. They're $50 an hour or something. You save so much time, the potential for risk. It's just so much more fun when you know what you're doing. You've got a plan. You don't need to like ask, like kind of scratch your brain and think like, oh, like what should I do? Get into it first. 3 months with a personal trainer, like your future will never be the same again. But you say that you didn't have time for it. I'm trying to think of what his name is. It's the CEO of Virgin Airlines, Richard Branson. Yeah, he owns an island. He did a mastermind group with an author that I really like, Russell Brunson, and one of the guys in this group asked him about productivity techniques, and Richard Branson said that the number one thing that's helped his productivity the most is exercising every single day. He said that it gives you more hours of the day, so if you feel like you don't have enough time, that's when you need to actually exercise, because like the benefits, if there was a pill that gave you the benefits of exercise, it'd be worth trillions, really. So the benefits of it actually make your day more efficient, even though you've invested 30 to 60 minutes in that workout.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to do it. I might even, because the gym is right across the road from my flat, so I might even, after this call, just go straight over there and just book one in.
Yeah, 100%. That'll be, honestly, like, don't even overthink it. Like, it's clear that you want to get into it. The advice I give to a lot of people, you can really go down the rabbit hole with like, the perfect way to structure your diet and the routine and of which exercises and like what should you eat and everything. And it's the exact same advice that I give in terms of meditation, where I tell them, bro, like, just start. literally download Medito, download any of the apps, and don't think about it. Don't think about like, you know, which style of meditation it doesn't work for me or anything. Literally just trust in the process and literally just start. If you, Stephen, if you go to the gym a few days a week and don't think anything other than that, but you just go a few days a week, like every single week for the rest of your life, like you're going to see the like absolutely game-changing differences as time goes on. You don't need to overthink it. Even the personal trainer is a fantastic addition, but even if you didn't do that, literally just walk into the gym and just like see where your mind and your heart tell you. And for a lot of beginners, it's usually like, oh yeah, just go into the machines because they look kind of easy. But slowly and surely you gain like a level of confidence. You speak to a few people there, and then you kind of see like someone doing an exercise there that you want to try. Then your YouTube algorithm somehow is like listening to what you say, so it kind of recommends you like a gym video. You watch that and you slowly get into it. It'll be really good for you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm going to do it.
Definitely I'm excited for you.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. It's been really, really cool talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, maybe we can do it again at some point, because I really enjoyed it, and I feel like there's probably lots more that we can talk about.
Yeah, of course. I would love to.
Okay, awesome. Great. Well, yeah, thank you again. And yeah, we'll put links down in the description to your channel, and everybody should go and check that out. And yeah, thank you very much.
I'm grateful for the conversation, Stephen.
Cool. I'll speak to you later.
Have a great night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.